The shadow in the executive hall. No one in the towering glass headquarters of Alden Technologies could have predicted the sound that shattered the morning calm, a small, terrified voice screaming through the marble lobby as if the world were ending. "Mr. Ray. Please, please help. They're killing my mom." Every head turned. Executives froze. Secretaries dropped their tablets. Even the security guard seemed rooted to the ground. But the little girl, her hair tangled, face streaked with tears, wasn't running to them. She was sprinting toward the janitor. And that was the first moment, the moment we all would later realize was the beginning of something none of us ever saw coming. Before we dive further, if this moment has already pulled you in, please like the video and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. It truly helps bring more stories like this to the world. Now, back to that moment. Her small hands crashed into the rough blue fabric of his uniform. "Mr. Ray, they beat my mom. She's dying. Please, you're the only one who can help." The janitor, Raymond Pierce, a quiet man with soft eyes and a limp from an old injury, didn't ask who they were. He didn't ask why she ran past dozens of adults to reach him. He just gathered her gently into his arms. Behind them, the CEO, Jonathan Hale, thundered out of the elevator, his suit sharp, his frustration sharper. "Grace? Grace? What on earth?" But Grace Hale didn't look at her father. She didn't look at anyone except Ray. "It's Mommy," she whispered. "And they said she's not getting back up." The word sliced through the room. Instantly, the corporate world, polished, cold, immaculate, fractured into panic. Jonathan Hale's face drained of color. People whispered. Security rushed forward. And then another thing happened, something subtle, but unforgettable. Ray's expression changed. The timid, quiet janitor vanished. In his place stood a man carved from steel. "Grace," Ray said, his voice steadier than anyone had ever heard, "take me to her." The little girl nodded and tugged him toward the exit. Jonathan Hale snapped out of his shock. "Security! Follow them. Someone call 911. But Ray didn't slow down. He didn't even look back. Because this wasn't the first time he'd heard a child cry like that. And what no one, not Jonathan Hale, not security, not even Grace, knew, was that Ray Pierce carried a secret past so explosive that if it ever surfaced, it would detonate every assumption they had ever made about him. Grace led him across the city to a rundown apartment complex, a place Jonathan Hale had no idea his ex-wife had been forced to move into. When the door swung open, Ray saw the scene instantly. A shattered lamp. A chair on its side. Blood on the floor. And Emily, Grace's mother, barely conscious. Ray moved with a speed and certainty that stunned even seasoned paramedics when they arrived minutes later. But before they came, Ray knelt beside Emily, checked her pulse, turned her gently, stabilized her breathing, and whispered instructions to Grace to keep her calm. He worked with absolute precision, as if guided by invisible blueprints. Grace stared at him, trembling. "Mr. Ray, how do you know what to do?" Ray paused. An answer hovered at his lips, one he didn't want to give. "Not yet. I've seen this kind of thing before," he finally said, voice low. But Grace was just a child. She believed him. Jonathan Hale, on the other hand, having finally arrived, did not. He stormed into the apartment, blazing with anger. How did this happen? Who did this to her? "Raymond, what were you doing here?" "Helping your daughter," Ray said, not rising from Emily's side. Jonathan glared. "I have police on the way. I have private investigators. You're a janitor. Stay out of." "No," Ray said quietly. "Not this time." Jonathan froze, shocked by the defiance. Ray looked up, eyes burning with a resolve no one had ever seen. "Your wife needs more than paramedics. She needs someone who knows what kind of people do this. Someone who knows how they think. Jonathan stepped back, unsettled. What are you implying? That she was targeted? Ray didn't answer. Because he already knew she was. He recognized the pattern of the attack. He recognized the signature violence. He recognized the message left in the shattered pieces on the floor, a message only he would understand. And worse? He knew who had sent it. But no one else did. Not yet. Grace clung to his uniform. Please, don't leave us. Ray looked at her, and in that instant his decision was sealed. He would protect her. He would protect Emily. And he would face the ghosts he thought he buried long ago. But it would come with a price. Because his secret, the one that would shock the entire city, was already rising from the shadows. And once revealed, nothing would ever be the same again. The secret he swore to bury. The hospital room glowed with sterile light, but the atmosphere felt anything but clean. Jonathan Hale paced like a caged storm, his phone buzzing constantly with calls he ignored. Grace sat curled in a chair, eyes swollen, watching Ray like he was the only steady thing left in her collapsing world. Emily Hale lay unconscious in the bed, bruised but stable. The paramedics had said she survived because someone with serious medical training intervened quickly. Jonathan had turned, stunned, toward Ray. Ray had simply looked away. Now, hours later, Jonathan approached him again. Raymond, earlier you said you'd seen this kind of violence before. What did you mean? Ray didn't answer immediately. But Grace's small hand slipped into his, and that seemed to push him past whatever hesitation he carried. Mr. Hale, Ray said quietly, your wife wasn't attacked by random burglars. Jonathan stiffened. This was done by professionals, Ray continued. People who send warnings. What kind of professionals? Jonathan asked, voice tightening. Ray exhaled slowly. The kind who used to be my colleagues. Silence detonated through the room. Grace blinked. Colleagues? But you clean floors. Jonathan's eyes sharpened. Raymond. What, exactly, did you used to do? Ray looked at the sleeping woman in the hospital bed. Then he stood, as if facing an invisible firing squad. I wasn't always a janitor, he said. For 20 years, I was an undercover operative for a federal agency. My specialty was dismantling interstate crime networks. Particularly the Hale Syndicate. Jonathan paled. My, what? Ray nodded slowly. Your father's syndicate, Mr. Hale. The one you distanced yourself from the moment you inherited Alden Technologies. The one you pretended didn't exist. Jonathan staggered back. I cut all ties. I told them I wanted nothing to do with their world. Ray met his eyes. And that's why they came after Emily. Grace whimpered softly. Ray knelt beside her. They weren't trying to kill her, sweetheart. Not really. They were sending your father a message. Jonathan pressed a hand to his forehead. Why would they target my family after all these years? I gave them everything they wanted. I left. That's the problem, Ray said. They don't want you to leave. They want you back under their control. And you? Jonathan asked. Why did you come here? Why hide as a janitor? Ray looked away, jaw tight. Because after years of infiltrating violent networks, after the last mission went wrong and innocent people died. I didn't want to be that man anymore. I wanted a life where I could clean floors, take out trash, and never hurt anyone again. Grace looked at him with wide eyes. But you saved my mommy. Ray's voice cracked, not from weakness, but from emotion he had buried beneath years of silence. I won't let your family be destroyed by the shadows I escaped. At that moment, a police detective entered the room. But he wasn't